God never abandons me, but I always abandon him. How many times have I asked God for something and, when I received it, I rejoiced only to forget him soon after? How many times have I pleaded with him in my struggles, only to turn away the moment life became easier? The truth is, God never abandons me, but I constantly abandon him. God's love is steadfast, unchanging, and unconditional. He is always present, even when I am unaware of him. When I am lost, he searches for me. When I fall, he lifts me up. When I sin, he forgives me. Yet, despite his infinite patience, I take his love for granted. I only seek him when I need something. I only listen to him when his words align with my desires. If his call challenges me, if it requires sacrifice, I hesitate, I resist, or I reject it entirely. This pattern is nothing new. It has existed throughout history. The Israelites, after being freed from Egypt, praised God until hardships came, and they turned to idols. Peter swore loyalty to Jesus but denied him when faced with danger. And today, I do the same. I celebrate God's blessings, but when trials come, I doubt him. I proclaim my faith, but when obedience demands too much, I walk away. God, however, does not change. His faithfulness does not depend on mine. Even when I betray him, he calls me back. Even when I reject him, he waits for me. Like the father in the parable of the prodigal son, he watches for my return, longing to embrace me. But why do I continue to abandon him? Is it fear? Is it selfishness? Or is it because I love myself more than I love him? If I truly believed in his love, would I not trust him even in suffering? Would I not obey him even when it costs me something? I must recognize this truth. If I only accept God's will when it benefits me, then I am not following him, I am using him. If I truly love him, I must surrender, not just when it is easy, but also when it is hard. I must trust that even his difficult commands are for my good. I must believe that his ways are higher than mine, that his plans are better than my desires. Lord, forgive me for abandoning you time and time again. Teach me to remain faithful, not just in joy, but in sorrow. Help me to love you for who you are, not just for what you give. Let me not seek my own comfort, but your glory. May my heart never turn away from you again. God's constant call and my reluctant response. In reflecting on how often I abandon God, I realize that the fault lies within me, not in him. God is always near, always ready to guide, support, and forgive. His grace is constant, never wavering, and his mercy is endless. He does not abandon me when I fail. Instead, he patiently waits for my return. In moments of hardship, God does not distance himself from me. It is I who often choose to walk away. When life is comfortable, I forget to seek him. When I face temptation, I sometimes choose to rely on my own strength rather than his. But this is where I miss the point. God's call is not merely a suggestion or comfort in times of need. It is a profound invitation to experience true life, to walk in his love and wisdom. The more I reject his invitation, the more I lose touch with the peace and joy that come only from him and my stubbornness. I settle for lesser things that may seem good in the moment but fail to satisfy my deeper longing. God's will is always good for me, even when it is hard to understand. His plan is better than any of my own, even when it leads me down paths I didn't expect. In my own limited view, I may feel like certain sacrifices are too much, but when I step out in faith, I see that God has been preparing something greater for me all along. It may not always be immediate or apparent, but in trusting him, I begin to experience a peace that surpasses all understanding. I must learn that God's will is not only beneficial for me when I can see the immediate rewards. His love is not a transaction where I give something and He gives back. It is a relationship, a deep connection that transforms me from the inside out. Even when it is difficult, even when the outcome is unclear, His will is always for my good. The more I resist Him, a love that never gives up. Even as I acknowledge my weakness, I see a greater truth. God's love never gives up on me. Though I often turn away, though I seek Him only when it is convenient, though I reject Him in my selfishness, He remains faithful. He does not love me because I am worthy. He loves me because He is love. His love is not based on my actions, my obedience, or my devotion. It is a love that exists despite my failures, a love that endures through every rejection, a love that is stronger than my sins. I think of Jesus on the cross, arms stretched wide, embracing the very people who mocked and crucified Him. He did not wait for humanity to deserve His sacrifice. He gave Himself freely, knowing that we would continue to betray Him. That same love reaches me today. When I abandon Him, He does not turn away in anger. When I reject Him, He does not give up. Instead, He pursues me. He calls me back. He knocks on the door of my heart, waiting for me to let Him in. Yet, how often do I delay? How often do I hear His voice and choose to ignore it? How often do I prioritize my own desires, my own comfort, my own plans, instead of surrendering to Him? If I truly understood the depths of His love, would I not run to Him without hesitation? Would I not give Him everything? The truth is, I am afraid of losing control, afraid of where He might lead me, afraid that if I give Him everything, I will be left with nothing. But that is a lie. The more I give to God, the more He fills me. The more I surrender, the more I am set free. What He asks of me is not for His benefit, but for mine. His commands are not burdens, but pathways to true joy. His call to trust Him is not a test, but an invitation to something greater. I must remember this. God does not need my obedience, but I need to obey Him. He does not need my trust, but I need to trust Him. He does not need my love, but I need to love Him, because in loving Him, I find my true self. When I abandon Him, I lose my way. When I refuse His voice, I close myself off from the only one who can truly satisfy my soul. But even then, He waits. Even then, He calls. Even then, He reaches out, offering me His hand. He never forces me, never compels me against my will. He simply loves patiently, endlessly, unconditionally. And when I finally turn back, when I finally say, Lord, I am here, I find that He has never left. He has always been there, waiting, longing, loving. So today, I choose differently. I choose to stop running. I choose to stop rejecting. I choose to trust, even when I do not understand. I choose to obey, even when it is difficult. I choose to love, not just when it is easy, but in every moment, knowing that He first loved me. Lord, You never abandon me. Let me never abandon You. You never stop loving me. Let me never stop loving You. Amen.